From the land of conjurers, flying through the internet to your device like a UAP, hauntingly unexplained and downright weird, this is the Witching Hours, and we are ready to take off in the flash of an eye. Good evening to one and all, wherever and whenever you are listening to this program. I am Giant of the Frost, and joining me, as always, is the medium Jenny Lee. How are you doing this evening, Jenny? A little bit sick. Yeah, I'm the culprit there. I think I got everyone sick starting off last week. I'm feeling a little bit better now. I'm pretty much ready to go. Yeah, my fault. She was taking care of the sick frost giant, and in turn, but we're working our way there. I think I'm just about back. So hopefully you will be on the mend. You do feel better than yesterday, you said.
I said I was sick, and it was Frosty's fault. That's what you missed. It's all Michael Manis's fault. Yes, he scuffed it up as soon as he came in here. No, it was pretty scuffed up.
We're all good to go.
It's been, yeah, it's always something.
So
but we're here now, and it seems like things are working.
Jenny said it was all my fault. So she was just agreeing that it was my fault. And so off we go. It's Thursday night. Welcome in, everyone. Thank you, as always, for coming here and hanging out with us on the Witching Hours. We are looking forward to the show. We're looking forward to hanging out with you guys a little bit tonight. We haven't been able to as much this week, so it's good to see everyone. Welcome in, welcome in. All right, we ready to get into some news?
Yes, tell us the news this week. Dun, 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 dun.
All right. Man, there's going to be a lot of editing going on this week. All right. You guys aren't going to see me at all tomorrow night. I'm going to be editing my butt off. Okay. Weird news. There might be underground mountains near the Earth's core. This was posted in Discord. Yeah, I think you posted this one, I think this is
yes. I never, just so you know, I never actually read the articles. I just share them because they looked interesting.
Okay.
It's you that's reading them.
A thin yet dense sunken ocean floor could be deep between the Earth's core and mantle. The findings of a new study published April 5th in the journal Science Advances use global scale seismic imaging of the Earth's interior to search for clues of a long buried ocean. About 2,000 miles below the Earth's surface, the planet's rocky mantle meets the molten metallic outer core. Previously, a possible ancient ocean floor on the core mantle boundary, and had only been observed in isolated patches. The latest research suggests that this layer may actually cover a large portion of the core mantle boundary of Earth. Understanding the composition of the core on a large scale is difficult since it is so deep within the Earth. The researchers in a study from the United States and the United Kingdom used a network of 15 seismographs spaced out around northwestern Antarctica and collected data for 3 years. The seismograph stations in the network scans the Earth's seismic waves to create an image of the Earth deep below our feet, similar to how an MRI scans the body and creates an image of what is inside. The team noticed that the core mantle boundary, there were seismic waves slowed down when they hit a particular layer.
Okay.
This layer is about 3 to 25 miles thick, but is actually very thin in terms of planetary composition. Analyzing thousands of seismic records from Antarctica, our high-definition imaging method found the thin anomalous zones of material, and that the material's thickness varies from a few kilometers to tens of kilometers. This suggests we are seeing mountains on the core in some places up to 5 times taller than Mount Everest.
Wow, 5 times taller. That's incredible.
Yeah, it is. And according to this study, these underground peaks may play a critical role in how heat escapes the Earth core. So my question after this story was, because I don't quite grasp everything that we're being told in this article, but I was curious if this was some kind of evidence, maybe not of a hollow Earth, but it sounds very darn similar. Right?
Yeah, there's mountains and an ocean down there somewhere.
Like a second ocean. Well, we had another story before about all the water that was underneath the ocean.
Yeah.
So there's like a whole nother ocean. Like there was actually more water in this second ocean than there was in our oceans.
It's like SpongeBob.
Now there's mountain ranges. So yeah, I don't know.
Is there a pineapple under the sea?
I don't know. It's very interesting though. I always thought the hollow Earth theory was more intriguing than the flat Earth theory.
Yeah,
I've never really been able to buy into flat Earth at all, but the hollow Earth, not that I necessarily buy into it, but I think it's intriguing and more fanciful to wonder about anyway.
Yeah. CMC said, what if the mountains are inverted peaks and pointing toward the center?
It's very possible.
It's the upside down. Now we're getting into like Stranger Things land.
The upside down. Story number 2, another jellyfish UAP has been making the rounds. A friend of the show, CMC Air Boss, shared a video on Discord that's making the rounds on YouTube and TikTok that show another jellyfish-looking UAP, this time being discussed by a cruise ship captain, Kate McHugh.
Oh, yeah. I did see you guys talking about this one.
The video was shared on our Discord, so if you're in our Discord, go check it out. And if you're not, you should go over there because, well, our wonderful people are always over there sharing different news clips and articles and things that they're finding interesting on the web to discuss all the weird things we talk about on the show. So you can go over there and check out that interview. It's even clipped right to the part that you need to watch. This is interesting to me too, because it wasn't like a UFO channel. It was like a travel channel, like talking about cruise ships and stuff like that. And then they have this one interview about what this cruise, what she saw on this cruise ship, and there's video of it.
Wow.
And it does look pretty similar, the outline of it anyway, to what the Marines saw in the Near East there. So more jellyfish UAPs. Third story tonight is NASA finally opened its prized asteroid canister, and you can look inside.
Thank God. How many weeks did we talk about them not being able to open it?
I was just about to say, we've talked numerous times, kind of joking around about the fact they could not open up this canister like it was a jar of peanut butter or something.
They just needed to ask their dad.
Yeah.
Hey, Dad, I can't open this jar of pickles.
The wonderful engineers that work for them, they finally devised a way to open up this canister full of asteroid rock that they had sent and taken from an asteroid in space. It returned. They've opened it. And now
they have such cool information.
So here's the article. NASA spent months trying to release 2 stubborn fasteners on the canister's lid, which was no easy feat. The asteroid receptacle, after parachuting down to Earth from outer space, has been understandably isolated inside a specially designed glove box with limited tools and access. Now the lid is open, and the agency has snapped a picture of the bulk of what it captured from asteroid Bennu, a 1,600-foot wide asteroid composed of boulders and rubble. It's the prize of the agency's first ever mission to bring pristine pieces of an asteroid back to our planet. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because...
Okay, hold on. I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody knows the answer to this. Is it an asteroid that's in our asteroid belt? Is that where they sent it and got it from?
I'm actually not quite sure.
Because if it is, the next story is going to be very interesting.
Oh, man, I never even thought of that implication. Okay, well, let's get to it and we'll talk about this. So we need to know where Bennu was because
where is it? Because somebody look it up.
Yeah, the connect is
CMC or loose. Get on it.
The next story is that scientists are inspecting all of that stuff from Bennu, which they've called the cosmic mother lode. The 7-year-long voyage. So I would imagine probably it was the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, because there's a 7-year-long voyage brought home the goods via sample return in a canister. Those specimens from afar are believed to contain the leftovers from the formation of the solar system 4.5 billion with a B years ago. One early finding is that the asteroid material under inspection looks distinct and different than anything else in our meteorite collection isotopically, which is exciting, said Loretta, one of the scientists working on this. There's a whole realm of material that we never get access to if we just rely on meteorites.
Oh, yeah.
Most meteorites that endure their fiery fall through Earth's atmosphere and are recovered are bits of asteroids, but pinpointing the space rock from which they originated is not easily done. The samples here have phosphate crust never seen before in meteorites. These high concentrations of phosphate have been detected in extraterrestrial ocean worlds, he said.
What?
For instance, Saturn's moon Enceladus contains phosphates, a key building block of life, and at levels much higher than Earth's oceans. Asteroid Bennu may be a fragment of an ancient ocean world that is still highly speculative, but it's the best lead I have right now to explain the origin of the material, said the scientist.
CMC said that it's a small near-Earth asteroid that passes close to Earth about every 6 years.
Okay.
However,
but probably, I would imagine most things are originating from that area. So whether it's our solar system or whether it's coming from deep space or whatever, speculative. But the idea that these rocks seem like they are the leftovers of a
planet and
ocean world.
And the raw material that we've been going over for the past 2 years says that our asteroid belt was a planet that was between our little planets and big planet that got blown up. So,
all right,
there might be some science to back that up now.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
And the last story for tonight is, could we all be psychic? Well, that's something I'm sure our community has something to discuss, but we have some scientific data here to discuss that. The human brain and nervous system have astonishing capabilities that allow us to make sense of the environment around us in a multitude of ways. But is it possible that our brain also restricts what we can sense? So the suggestion is that function of the brain, nervous system, and sense organs is eliminative, and not productive. Each person at each moment capable of remembering all the things that have ever happened to him or her, perceiving everything that is happening everywhere in the universe. The function of the brain and nervous system is to protect us from being overwhelmed and confused by this mass of largely useless and irrelevant knowledge. By shutting out most of what we...
Let's
get to the story. You're going to like this, so you got to let me go. By shutting out most of what we should otherwise perceive or remember at any moment and leaving only that very small and special selection which is likely to be practically useful. According to this theory, the reducing valve of the brain evolved to enhance our biological survival, while small amounts of psi received information might be helpful to us. Being overwhelmed by irrelevant information will render us as easy prey for other predators. Huxley believed that psychedelics offered one method for opening up this reducing valve and exposing us to a wider range of sensory inputs. So really quick, I'm going to go through because this gets really wordy. It's a scientific experimental thing. Hold on.
Skip all the words.
Hold on. Let me get through. That is but essentially what this group of scientists was discussing was the idea that the frontal lobes of the brain, as they form, begin to shut off psychic ability for some people. So,
which makes sense because as we grow, our frontal lobes get more intact. And that's why children are more psychic than grown-ups.
Exactly. So they've actually done experiments. So there is some experimental support for the idea. In a paper published in journal Cortex, researchers followed up on an earlier study they had conducted investigating a neurobiological model that had proposed based on Bergson's suggestion in which the frontal lobes of the brain act as a filter to inhibit psi, which had resulted in significant mind-matter interactions in two individuals with frontal brain lesions. So in other words,
we already knew that the frontal lobes act as a filter because that's what keeps people from saying everything that's on their mind.
Yeah, and it's like how you react.
That's why you don't tell your boss they're an asshole, because your frontal lobe says that's a bad idea.
Yeah, you shouldn't say those things. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But what they're finding is they're doing experiments with people who have had damage to their frontal lobes.
Yeah.
So two individuals that had frontal brain lesions were part of the experiment. The experimental task was to influence output of a random event generator translated into movement of an arrow on a computer screen to the right or to the left. Compared to a well-designed control condition, both individuals demonstrated a significant effect in moving the arrow on the screen contralateral to the side of their primary lesion overlap. Based on these findings in the study, the researchers adopted a new method of testing the frontal region of brain acts as a filter to inhibit psi. They used repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation to induce reversible brain lesions in the left medial middle frontal region in a healthy participants, making it feasible to test a larger number of individuals. So basically like trying to recreate some kind of brain damage to their frontal lobes. Each participant took part in 500 trials, trying to move the arrow to the left, and then another 500 trials trying to move the arrow to the right. And after they completed these 1,000 trials, left the room, another 1,000 trials were run with no human present in the room trying to move the arrows. Once the experiment was complete, the researchers analyzed the data and found that, as predicted by a priori hypothesis, they demonstrated that healthy participants with reversible RTMS induced lesions targeting the left medial frontal brain region show larger right intention effects on a mind-matter interaction task compared to healthy participants. So in other words,
I think that this article is giving me a frontal lobe brain lesion.
So in other words, people who had damage or simulated damage to their frontal lobes had better success at reproducing which way the arrows were going to move than people who had normally functioning frontal lobes.
Got it.
So that's pretty significant. It's a lot of science, but we do science on this show.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're getting is this could be a whole thing of why do some people have more psychic abilities than others? Possibly.
One possibility
is the frontal lobe is filtering out those abilities.
Yeah.
Which would mean exactly what you said multiple times, that all people are capable of it.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't all of them experience it?
Yeah.
See, if you don't have a well-formed frontal lobe, then you don't block out the things that are coming to your mind, like interrupting when people are trying to read news stories. And then you're able to develop things like mediumship and psychic abilities. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Frosty, for all this good news articles today. Let's move on to our guest.
All right. That was the news. All right, guys. So we got a great show for you tonight. Marv Machura is a performer, card reader, and writer. He performs records. He performs records and music. He writes, publishes poetry, songs, nonfiction, and fiction. Like many other musicians, authors, and card readers, Marv Machura also has psychic abilities that he has practiced and celebrated since childhood. So we probably will have to talk to him about that last article, just to get his ideas there.
That's what I was thinking.
Machura's grandfather first opened the world of psychic power to him by teaching him how to find underground water with a willow branch. Machura soon also discovered that he could see into the future with playing cards. These abilities and discoveries triggered a lifelong, passionate interest in all things metaphysical and spiritual. Machura has practiced his supernatural gifts with friends and family until going professional as a tarot card reader and author of a book on the tarot, the 5-Card Pentagram Tarot. Marv Machura has given tarot readings and psychic advice to thousands of people, helping them move forward with their lives. He is known as a concise, accurate, honest, and helpful card reader and psychic. He believes the tarot is an ancient book of 78 pages hidden in plain sight about the human condition and humanity's connection to the universe. As a divinatory tool, it is very effective for this reason. The tarot cards illustrate aspects, stages, connections, parts, and more of our humanity in deep metaphysical way that no one written book can ever match. And Marv is also a singer, songwriting, a performing, recording artist known for his many records and songs that have been published in Nashville and heard around the world online and locally as he continues to perform, write, and record music. Please welcome to the show our guest tonight, Marv Machura. Welcome to the show, Marv.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you so much. Yeah. I'm wondering if something's wrong with my frontal lobes, though, now after that news story.
We all are.
I can feel them kind of being, I don't know, aware of themselves or something, right?
It's
interesting.
It is very possible. I guess all things are possible. It's interesting because we've had this conversation multiple times because, Ginny's a medium and does readings here on Twitch and stuff like that. And almost every psychic I've talked to has said, well, you all have the ability. Like even before Ginny was a working medium, other mediums we talked to and stuff like that is like, well, everybody has the ability to do that. And I guess I agree with that to a certain extent, but you still wonder why everyone just doesn't walk around just completely open, because obviously that's not the case either. And so I think this could be an interesting explanation. Possibly. It could be an interesting explanation. We'll have to see where the science goes for that. Did we lose Marv? We got you, Marv, if you can continue.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I was just saying that the brain does physically change with use and age, and so perhaps as we use those psychic abilities, the frontal lobes do go through some physiological change that people who aren't as psychic do not go. Or they may know that they may be psychic, but they just don't develop that ability because I do believe it's a gift, but everything is a gift. And again, what you do with the gift is what counts. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, like anyway. It's a muscle. It's like a muscle. If you don't use your muscles, it's not going to get stronger. Yeah.
That's true. It's I'd be the last person to say I'm not gifted musically, but again, it's the gift, what you do with the gift that makes it. I'm certainly a better psychic now than when I started before I turned professional, because I wasn't doing it all the time. And I feel every week that goes by that I do this in volume, I get better.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I was interested about your early experiences, like things that happened as a child.
Well, as a child, I would often, what for lack of a better word, astral travel.
And let's see, Marv, let's try something to see if we can do something to get through with the show. I think we're having some bandwidth issues, which it looks like we're actually having some bitrate issues on our end as well. Let's see if we can have the video if we can turn the video off, and that way we can still do the audio portion and still be able to have the conversation. That way we're not trying to use as much bandwidth. Does that make any sense?
That makes sense. I wonder if it's because Tucker Carlson is releasing that video of Putin interview and the internet's breaking down from use.
Well, I saw that right before we went on, Marv.
I saw breaking the internet.
That is true. There was a whole bunch of live feeds that were on YouTube and TikTok and all things of people watching this Tucker Carlson, Vladimir Putin video. So maybe everything's just completely ransacked the bandwidths right now.
We won't blame it on Michael Manus this time. We'll blame it on Tucker Carlson.
Well, yeah, it's all Putin's fault.
It's Putin's fault. It's the Russians.
Darn you, Vladimir Putin.
Try talking.
We hear you.
I think we can hear you.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, great. Okay. There we go.
All right. So
you were saying,
see how this goes. We'll try to keep it there.
I could hear some of what you were saying, and you said that you would astrally travel, and you thought that everyone could do it.
Yeah.
And that's where we lost you.
Okay. and then from there, my family was quite, I guess, gifted psychically. On one side, it comes through my mother, and my grandfather was what was known in his community as a water witch. There's no real translation in the English language for it. It's a Ukrainian thing, and so it was sort of part of our growing up. They came from the woods back, from Ukraine, and in that, that paganism was still very strong in their culture.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandma and grandpa were very much, they lived like that, with the old healing methods and the old spirits and those kinds of things. So it was around me. And, my Guido would tell me Guido is a grandfather in Ukrainian. And by the way, my Guido, he didn't like the Russians that much either. Anything on the farm that was...
Nothing's changed, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, they left mainly because the Russians there. Yeah. They have long history of animosity there. Anything on the farm that was bad, like those Canadian thistles that grow in the field, or the big what's called black poplars. They were for him. They were Russian thistles and Russian poplars.
I love it. We actually have a member of our community that's from the Ukraine, so I'm sure she'll be excited to hear this.
Oh, great! Yeah.
Yeah.
And so anyway, like the early experiences, it was around me, and I assumed it was normal. Like that was a normal kind of way to be, and that you did things metaphysically as part of your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
It was not,
So
it wasn't anything.
Tell us one of your experiences that you remember astrally traveling.
Well, as a child, like for example, like I remember playing with my dinky toys in the sand piles, and then all of a sudden I'm in a different place. I'm in another world.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I used to, and again, as a child, I was really tormented by nightmares too. I would often find myself in the most horrible nightmares. I still get them, but at some point in my childhood, and I think I was very young, about 7 or 8, I faced the demons. I stood up to them because I wasn't about to be pushed around even then. And it's the fear that the other side has hold over us. It's not like ghosts and things. They can't harm us, but what they can do is that they make us harm ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I can still remember that night when I finally stood up for myself to those things, because I was very tormented by, like I used to scrape the paint off my bed even. In the morning,
wow.
I'd wake up and find out that I was really, it is quite frightening, to look for a little kid. But
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, once you cross that threshold, I guess, and that's for all of us, when we realize that they can't hurt us in this plane, and if they're out to get us, kind of thing, they only make us hurt ourselves, basically. That's their hands are,
After you stood up to them, did you notice a significant difference in your nightmares?
Oh, it's totally different. I mean, well, I'd still get them, but I would defeat them in my nightmares. I would destroy the demons, I guess you could say. I was determined, and I still am.
Me too, Marv. Me too.
Good. Yes, that's really good. Yeah,
we're doing that sometimes live on our Twitch streams.
Oh, wow, good. Yeah.
So, okay, tell us about the
the other side
witch.
is not, the other side's not all rainbows and unicorns,
Yeah,
and that's why a lot of people tell me, like, well, I'd like to read cards. I'd like to get into what you're doing. I said, well, are you sure? It's not, it's not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah.
And the temptations are very great. Very great. That
balance between light and dark,
Oh, yeah.
Gotta have the dark so you can have the light.
And also, I guess, like one of the things...
I used to...
Oh, go ahead, Marv.
Oh, like one thing I would say that anybody who wants to get into this, they should see where their fear line is, I guess you could say. And in my early adult life, for example, I would spend, say, 3-4 days alone on mountain climbing trips or bush trips in my province here of Alberta, and that is a real test for anybody, I would say. Not too many people can do that, to be by themselves. Especially, I love your title of your show, The Witching Hours, because there's a time just after the sun goes down, before the dark, that is very, very creepy, let's say, for lack of a better word. But the dark is the dark, but it's that time just before, where the shadows come in, and that the light is changing. That is a very highly charged metaphysical time, and a lot of people can't handle that.
Yeah,
especially by themselves.
Very true.
You have to be confident. You have to be very strong, very fearless to do that. And it's kind of I still remember when first time I told my Baba that I was doing this, and she says, "Are you crazy?" She couldn't believe it. But anyway, I mean, I'm kind of digressing here. But I mean, anybody can engage with the tarot and or the Ouija or whoever it is, but you just have to be careful that you don't get manipulated too much by the fear.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
you
actually,
have to control the fear. Yeah.
That actually brings up a question, because you just happened to mention the Ouija board, or the witch board, so to speak. I've noticed that has become a what's the right word there? It's become kind of taboo. Even with people who practice magic and psychics and mediums. Do you think that's justified, or do you think it's just another divinatory kind of thing, just like everything else?
I think it's just another divinatory thing, like everything else. Yeah. I no different than the tarot cards, or it has a bit of a bad rap. So there may be some really negative energy associated with it that I haven't explored yet. That's interesting that you bring that up, but it is possible that there's sort of more dark side energy associated with it, but I haven't explored that.
I guess in some ways it's just like I mean, what you were just saying about the tarot, it's like depends on how you use it and what you're using it for, and if you get scared about it, and then or if you get scared about something, you're going to let the not so nice things come in.
Right.
And then if you don't know how to deal with them, then they're just going to keep hanging out.
That's well said. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, the Ouija board could be, I mean, it's the same as anything else that you use for divination. Yeah.
It is truly. Yeah.
And so many people, so many people that do other kinds of things are setting intentions. When you're reading tarot, you're doing a reading for a question. You have an intention of what the information you're trying to get back. If you're doing a medium reading, oftentimes mediums have an intention. The person has an intention of who they want to hear from. And with Ouija boards, people put them out on the table and sit around in the dark. And usually, they're doing it for a creepy reason. And then the intention is completely open. Whoever or whatever wants to come through to talk to you, instead of setting those same intentions you would for all the other tools.
Yeah. That's very
true. And that's dangerous. Yeah, that is. There's like I said, it's not all good on the other side.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's a good point.
Well, that's pretty interesting, and I think that's something that, because I've noticed, like, even at the Paracon we went to, there was kind of like a hush hush thing about the Ouija board, and I was like, I don't know if it's any different than anything else, So
yeah, very true. Well, I wanted to hear more about the water witch stuff with your grandfather.
Well, sure. Like, he also did the wax in the water, and he would find things that, say, if there was people that would have especially kids with nightmares and things like that, he would be able to go into the home and find out what was causing that and whether there was a bad spirit there that was bothering the child, and get rid of that. And mhm, yeah,
Well, that's
and
interesting that you happen to be one of those children that's having these nightmares.
right. Hmm.
Yeah. And that your grandfather just happens to be someone who knows how to take care of it. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Very cool.
I remember he one time he never really worked with me directly on like that. We were close, but I remember one incident where he said to get rid of the child's nightmares, to get rid of the Cabbage Patch doll. Do you remember those?
Yes,
going
I had
back.
one of
I
those.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you had one of those, yeah. And again, when the people got rid of the Cabbage Patch doll, the nightmares for the child stopped.
Oh, wow.
So, whether that's real but yeah, but it worked. And he was funny because he was so certain of things, like he was so accurate. Like he would find water and he'd tell you how deep it was and what kind of water it was. And he was always accurate, whether he was like within inches of where the water would be, and whether it would be salty or whether it be good or whether it would be an artesian well. He
Wow.
somehow knew because he listened to that, and he wouldn't make any. He wasn't no big deal about it. He just thought this is normal. With his cigarette in his mouth, okay, under the water right here, and you dig down, then it'll be fine. Good water, I'm telling you. And that's the way he was. It was just part of his life.
That's awesome.
It was no big deal. And of
Yeah.
course, like the community in those days, more community minded. Well, the community accepted him as that he was that guy.
Yeah.
Right? He's the
water
one
guy.
who you gonna call?
Yeah.
Ghostbuster Guido. Yeah.
That's cool. So I saw in your bio that you originally started kind of reading with playing cards, and that is not something I've ever done before. Like I've kind of read a little bit about it. So tell us what is it like to read with the playing cards?
Well, it's more intuitive than with tarot cards. Well, no, it's not. It requires more intuitive abilities, I suppose, because you have to look at somehow the numbers and the magic and the jacks and the queens and all those cards are not as graphic, as the regular as a tarot deck, but it's very similar. So I'm thinking back to when I started doing it. Like I did research on the tarot. I knew about that, and I knew about the numbers and those kind of things. And I was looking into this and where the playing cards transmit to the four parts of the tarot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
like the playing cards kind of represent the tarot cards, like they have an equivalent of. Okay.
Yeah, like the diamond is the pentacle, the heart is the cup, and the spade is the sword, and clubs is the wands.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, the only major arcana from the is the Joker. The Joker, that's the Fool. That's still there. So somewhere along the way, I had picked up and I learned that. So I just thought, well, hey, this is kind of cool. I can just use a regular deck. I don't have to get a tarot deck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you still kind of find that with the pip decks. They're a little bit more of having to understand the numerology aspect to it in order to be able to do the reading. Yeah.
Less imagery. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Less imagery. Mm-hmm. But the Queen of Spades is still, the queen, the Queen of Swords. Like that's the cards have similar meanings. They have. I mean, it's a archetype, of course. And again, I don't know. I found it very easy to put them together, and I was doing a bunch of different layouts that would provide me what I wanted to see. And again, like you're a medium too, you understand. Like at some point, the tarot, the cards you almost don't need them sometimes. You
Mhm.
just you can read what the person is coming through with the cards, but you see that, but the cards confirm it for you.
Yes.
And
And sometimes for the person you're reading for as well.
yeah,
Yeah. Then you
I
can see it,
yeah,
you can both see it.
like
Yeah.
yeah,
mm,
it's that's that sort of thing. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
well, that's been something, Marv, that I've kind of been. It's I won't say. I guess it's a hypothesis, not really my working theory or anything. Just an idea that I've had that I've talked to Jenny about. Maybe I've talked to some in chat about it before as well. But if any of these things are really needed to perform the work that you're doing, like do you really need to have the tarot cards, or do you really need to have the crystals, or do you really need to have the Ouija board, or do you really need to have the potion or the spell? I think the way I've thought about it is those things are just things that allow ritual and belief to take shape. That way you have confidence in what you're doing. Would you agree with that? Or do you think there is a significance to the material item?
Well, there is significance to the material item too, because the vibrations of the material item, everything in the material universe does have like a vibration and an entity with it. A stick, a tree, a branch, a crystal, all have meaning. And like I suppose at one point you don't need this. You don't need a magic wand. You don't need to like roll around 3 times in a circle to say an intention. You can just ask the universe for it. But these kind of add-ons, I suppose, are part of what we are, part of our elemental self. So they work as tools, I suppose. And they have various levels of importance for various people.
Mhm.
So, like I always say, there's nothing wrong with chanting or sounding with a bowl or all these things, and trying to improve yourself and ask the universe for help in certain cases and help yourself, right? As long as you realize that you're not bringing in an evil spirit to help you forward, because that is the difference, I suppose. With some people, they get hooked on these things, and they kind of lose the fact that it's a gift from the other side, the good side, and they think they're doing it, as
Yes.
opposed to the greater good doing it, the universe doing it
Mhm.
for you. You are part of the universe. You're a child of the universe, and you're working with the universe. And you always have to have that humble opinion. I think where people go down the left path of witchcraft and crafting anything like this, the metaphysical thing, is when they rely too heavily on those things, and they look at it's a slippery slope down to doing certain rituals that are not healthy, or not good, but you have to look at it. Geez, I'm kind of losing myself here, but you have to examine it. Is this is this a good ritual or a bad ritual?
Yeah.
And
And
I think
yeah, if people get caught up in the thought that they are the ones that are, the almighty powerful, that's
Mm,
that is
definitely, yeah.
that is a danger. And then
Yes.
again, like putting a curse on somebody, that's when you have these
Mhm.
abilities, you can do that, but you shouldn't. That's the most cowardly thing to do. And I see that
Mhm.
that's the danger of all this, like witchcraft, I guess you could say.
yeah.
Yeah.
I could
That you
also,
would.
and I could be wrong about this, but
It's a
when I,
real danger. It's a very dangerous thing, because you're dealing with some metaphysical power that's just not. You really have to have a solid grounding
mm,
um, in, for lack of a better word, God, or like the higher power, the creator, the one, the Keter in the Jewish Kabbalah. That something that you're never alone. You're never by yourself. You're always with this. Always with what the creator, whatever you use this word, the one. The
And that we're all part of that.
Yeah,
Mm.
like I've been studying the Jewish Kabbalah like a lot lately, and again they use that word top of the tree of life as keter, and it's unimaginable by us. They can't. There's no way you can imagine it, and that's part of why, like say the Muslims, they have no representation of God. You cannot represent it, and the infinite, the powerful, the thing that unites us all, the grand whatever universe thing, the thing that gives us that faith and is so important. And in witchcraft, if you use this word, or mediumship or tarot reading, it's for that. It's not against it. It's not separated. It has to be in there. It has to be from that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
What did you want to say about it, Frosty?
I was just going to say that's curious. Not to get us further out into the weeds with this, but when I think of the left-handed path, it was interesting because when we first brought this up, we were talking about ritual and like using material items. And I want to say that for the most part, when I think of the left-handed path, it does tend to use the more, the images that pop into my head are more ritual and more.
they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, because you're depending on that item more so than you're depending on the universe, the power beyond you. And who knows, you might be led astray by a spirit too that is leading you down the left-hand path.
Yeah,
and,
I think that's another place that can get tricky too, is as you were just saying, Shani, like this whole universe, and you were saying like, the one, but we're all part of that.
Exactly.
But
I think that's where people get confused.
Yeah, because if you follow that thought all the way through, you're saying, well, I'm part of God, or I'm part of the universe, or I'm part of this oneness. So look at the power that I have.
Yeah.
Well,
it's power, what do you do with that?
It's also that, like Jesus said, if you have enough faith, you can move a mountain, right? Like it's like it's that. But what I see it as too, what I like to tell people, you're never alone if you have that. If you have faith, and I believe the universe talks to all of us, and they say faith is a gift, but again, faith is, and I kind of buy that, but because people who don't have faith, they're lost. That's and separation from the universe is hell itself. It's we're not meant to be that. We're not meant to live alone. We're not meant to be just independent spirits that are, like, I guess, prideful enough to think that there is nothing, where they begin and end with themselves, and they are the ones transmitting the power, and they have that enough. Well, I don't want to use that. Pride is a word that's just been twisted around a lot in our age, but they have too much self-esteem or something like that. I don't know, but they. I see them. I see that as throughout our humanity, probably the history of our humanity, the separation from the universe is what causes the most problems in our world. And as humans, we have that. We have the choice. We still have free will. We can reject. We can reject that connection. We can reject. We can think that we are all powerful. We have the or they get misguided to another source of power that that isn't good, and has bad intentions for our human race, our humanity.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, because, and like, I think what I like what Frosty was just saying is like getting, because it's like this big wheel. It's like we are part of the universe. We are part of God. We are part of the whole. But then, like, where does that separation need to start and end for it not to completely either be terrible because you're lost and alone, or terrible because you think that you are everything and that you can do whatever you want?
Yeah, that's right. Or people that feel that they don't have faith, and they are alone, and they feel like there's nothing more than this temporal space, and then nothing really matters to them.
Yeah.
And it's
I guess it's balance, right? Finding the balance in between somewhere.
Well, I will say
Yeah.
that I just had a thought when you said that, Jenny, and something popped into my head, and the thing that popped into my head, and this isn't my kind of way of going because I usually get enamored by the left-handed path, but
He wants to be the emperor from
we're getting really heavy. Sorry.
what came into my mind though when you asked that question was because we need to realize that everyone else is also part of the one.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh yeah.
That is the key. Thank
because
you.
if you are just the person doing and you have these powers and so you will do as thou wilt, as our friend in the past said, then you're not taking into consideration the fact that everyone else also has the same abilities and you have to be respectful to everyone else as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I am you and you are me and we are all we are we.
And so that's what should keep you from going down some kind of tyrannical, mad wizard deep dive.
It should.
Unfortunately, throughout history, there's lots of us who have gone that path. That's why I say it's dangerous, and you have to have a real strong faith to do this kind of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting conversation we just had there.
Any spiritual like look at the traditional churches, the church, they're not immune. That's if you're gonna do this kind of spiritual work, it's dangerous.
Yeah,
because they're just loaded with all kinds of landmines.
Yeah.
Be good, but we're getting really heavy here. It'd be kind of good to.
We are.
I don't even know if you.
That's what. We never know where the conversation is going to go, Marv. I don't know. You got us going down a left-handed path, and we're talking about all kinds of. They're talking about Satanism in the chat. We're going down the rabbit hole. But Lightworker, I do want to say, Lightworker made a comment that I think is important to say here. Lightworker said, "I think it is important to remember that many times in history, the desire to have power over others has changed the narrative, and so that's important. That it can be done for wrong." And we do have a question.
Perhaps that was the key there.
Yeah.
Power over others, or realizing that everyone has their own power.
Having your own power. Exactly. You're right. Yeah, I think that would nailed it down. Do you want to read the question from Musso Patty Savage there, Jenny?
Yes. I have a question. What are your views? What? Hold on. Let's start over again. May I pose a question to Marv? What is his view on the increasing... Oh, you gave me a word I can't say. You say it.
Solipsism?
I can't. I can't pronounce anything. You read the question.
Oh yeah, okay. So the view on increasing solipsism in the new thought, ascension, and metaphysical community in general. Do you need some more information to answer that one, Marv? We can have them. Yeah, solipsism.
Sophilism.
Yep.
Well, that's an intriguing mode of thought, that everything is only your own reality. I think it's wrong. It's like the reality is, we do see the world the way we are. We don't see the world the way the world is. But that's only half the story.
Well, that's interesting because I'm glad you knew what that word meant, because I had not heard that before. But we've had that discussion here.
I couldn't even pronounce it.
We've had that conversation here before, Mr. Patty Savage.
It's like nothing is. Yeah, I guess the best. I don't know if you ever read Sylvia Plath's poem, "The Sophilist," and in that poem, the speaker in the poem goes through all these possibilities. Like she says, your love is just an imagination in your mind; it's not real. And then the other guy in the poem says, "Damn it, I feel it. It is real. It is real. It's not. This is not made up. I feel it." And it's. I guess that's what I would say too. That for me, that's going down a path that's just not necessarily there. You can't see love, you can't feel it, you can't taste it, but you can see the effects that it has on people. It's just like that old poem by Rossetti, you can't see the wind, but you can see the effects that the wind does. So like you can't see God, but you can see the effects that God makes. You can see the world, you can see the universe, you can marvel at creation.
Mm.
And it's so that person who said that, I would recommend maybe look up that Sylvia Plath poem. Again, I wasn't aware that was sort of a hot topic these days in metaphysical circles.
Well, it's something we've talked about, Marv, and like I said, I wasn't familiar with that term, but there has been a discussion lately that kind of came up that we started discussing, which was the idea of like, how do you know? Well, I think it started in a big way because people started talking about a simulated universe and do we live in a simulation? Because science is starting to suggest that it's possible. And if we do live in a simulation, then how do we know that we're not the only ones that are conscious in this simulation? And I think that's kind of where that started coming from.
Mm-hmm. Well, that would make sense. Yeah. That you're the only, that you're conscious. Everything is just like a construct of your own consciousness.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because then the question is, okay, if we are, I mean, because we don't know, it's just something that's being bantered about at this point in science. But if we are in a simulation, then, it could be like the Matrix, movie where we're all together in this one server, for better use of lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But what if we all are in a single player game?
Yeah.
So I guess that's the thing. But I mean, I have to trust. I mean, I don't know, like you were saying, I don't know if that's I don't know if it would be worthwhile to go through this thing. I don't like single player games, Marv. I like to play with my friends.
Yeah. It seems to me that's leading to that loneliness of not being and feeling like the separation from everything, separation from the universe.
Yeah.
The vibrational energy, the beauty. Keats said it best, in his poem, "Beauty is truth and truth is beauty." Hard to define that it is, but it's like that's for me just destroys the sophist's argument.
And if there's, which none of us really know what's going on, but if one of the reasons for this whole existence is so that the source energy can experience itself, then it would definitely not be alone. It would have spread itself out so that you can't experience things by yourself in a bubble. You have to have someone else to experience it with. So it's like that's what started the splintering off in the first place. Like, I can't give myself a kiss and a hug. I have to have someone to do that with,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to take, we'll use this
none of
moment.
us really know anything.
All right.
Yes.
So I know we want to reset. We've been going down the left-handed path and all that stuff, or discussing it anyway. So
wow, I was not prepared for this. I tell you, friends, you guys are really deep and going down. Yeah, for sure.
It's a good conversation.
Yeah, that's what this show's all about.
I'm gonna be thinking about this for a while. That'll clarify my mind for sure, and that's good. That's the search is. That we're here to search. I'd be the last person to say everything. There's certitude. There's none. None that we can really.
The seeking is the true thing. Yeah.
That's what we're here for. These are the things we like to discuss. You don't have to have an answer. It's just the discussion, the thinking portion of it. Like a Greek symposium without all the wine. Oh, you can have all the wine you want, but I don't have any tonight.
Maybe it's a good time for that song.
Yeah.
So this is
because that was the theme of that song is, in fact, like connecting with higher power, not being alone, but the spirits of the universe, the aliveness of it, the unseen.
Well, give us 1 second. I want to do a quick reset real quick. So for those who have come in since the beginning of the show and stuck with this through some technical issues we were having at the beginning, welcome in. Thank you for joining us on the Witching Hours. We're glad that you're here, and you're welcome to hang out and relax and I guess enjoy that symposium we're having in the chat here. And we're talking tonight with Marv Machura, who is our guest. We're talking about tarot, and of course, we've talking about a lot of other things. I did want to catch you guys up on some things we have coming up. Tonight is a great show. I'm glad you're here. Next week, we're going to have Kim Sage on the program, so we're going to talk about mediumship and all kinds of stuff that's going on. So that's next Thursday on the 15th. On the 22nd, we're going to have Ron Moorhead on, and Ron Moorhead is going to be on here to talk about Bigfoot. Yeah, so we got some Bigfoot stuff.
Oh wow,
up.
good.
Yeah, it's gonna be excellent.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of audio of Bigfoot from the wild, so we're going to listen to some of that. And then on the 29th of February, we're going to have Sarah Bressman Cosme on, and she is going to be discussing QHHT. So we're going to be getting into a lot of weird stuff this month on the Witching Hours. So I hope you enjoy the show tonight and come back and visit us again every Thursday. We're here at 8 o'clock live on Twitch, and you can find us at all the places on the interwebs where you find your podcasts.
Speaking of the internet, at the top of the chat is pinned Marv's links. There's a link for his psychic work, a link for his music work, and a link for where you can purchase his books and music. So all of those links are up at the top.
And if you're listening to us later on a podcast, we will have those links listed in the description below. So make sure you go check those out. Now, we were talking about the song, Marv, and I was really excited when you accepted to play one for us tonight. Well, when we decided to have you on a guest, and as I often do, kind of, looking at who's going to come on the show and stuff like that, I listened to some of your music, and I absolutely fell in love with the song Woods of the Cree. And I've listened to it. It's like on my playlist rotation now. I listen to it all the time. Jenny's been hearing me down in my dungeon
today.
Yeah, just jamming out to it. I've really enjoyed it. So do you mind giving us a brief description of that? And then you offered to play it live on the show tonight.
Great. Well, I'm very honored that you like that song. Okay, so one thing I used to do a lot, I still do here, but I'm in BC instead of Alberta. I'd go for walks at night I lived in the country and the farm fields. And in that part of the world in Alberta, like the winter is bright. The stars are so shiny and the snow is so white, and the moonlight. And sometimes you could just feel the vibration. You'd hear the stars sparkling, crackling in the cold. And the indigenous people of Alberta are called the Cree. There's other groups too, but the Cree are one group. And I always felt that their connection to the land is much deeper than mine as an immigrant to the country. And I could just, with my study of their culture, and I did teach on a few Indian bands. I got to participate in lots of Cree ceremonies in their religions, and I even have a Cree name.
Cool.
Anyway, it's it all came together in that song for me. Again, walking through the storm. That's literally what I was doing. I can almost touch the stars tonight, and I feel the spirits around me dancing in the light. Again, we're not alone, never alone.
I want to ask one favor from you before we log off tonight, later on down the road. When we're about to exit out tonight, would it be okay with you if we played the audio from the video on YouTube so we can hear it again before we go off air tonight?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Sure.
So we'll do that. So we'll have the recorded version. But we really appreciate you playing. I love the song. So I'm gonna play it later. So make sure if once we play it again tonight, if you like it, go over there and give it a like and give it a follow.
It's over on YouTube.
Because it's
on Spotify too. All my records. Spotify and all the serves. Yeah.
So I had a question about creativity, because I have a theory, which I'm sure I'm not the only person in the world that has this theory, that when we're really in our creative space, that we're not creating it by ourselves, that we're tapping into that creative energy of the universe and source. Do you feel that too, or how do you feel about when you're creating?
Exactly. Yeah. The best songs just come through you. They don't come from you. Yeah, they are. Yeah. And even playing the music, the best music is egoless. If you can eliminate your ego, it's
Yes.
and again, as a tarot card reader too, you have to practice to clear your mind, because any kind of preconceptions you have about something, especially if you know the people,
Mm-hmm.
it clouds the real meaning. Yeah. I saw that today. Like again, I was watching some person on tarot, and obviously she was doing cards for Donald Trump, but you could see that she was very anti-Trump, and
Uh-huh.
it came through very clearly. I thought, well, that's a lesson for me. You just can't, if you have preconceived notions about somebody,
Yeah.
you work really, really hard to clear those out of your mind, especially if they're based on like hate and like or whatever, even like,
Yeah.
like if I was to read Putin's cards, I have to really, not use any of the imagery or any kind of thing that I know about it, that
Mm-hmm.
really clear my channel to do a fair reading for him. So
Yeah, and
that,
the
that's
opposite
something.
could be the opposite is true for somebody that you really love too. Like,
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
like
Strong feelings
you-
don't
do
to get in the
you,
way.
are you only going to tell them the things that they want to hear? Or are you only going to tell them the good positive things, or are you going to tell them the things that are going to help them too?
Hmm.
And then opposite, for somebody you don't like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. That's and you're a medium too. You know that when you get into that egoless kind of mode of telling them, it's a beautiful thing. It wouldn't be worth a damn if there wasn't those moments.
Yeah. Hmm.
And,
Absolutely. So tell us about your book. your,
yeah.
your tarot book.
So I wrote this book, The Five Card Pentacle, again when I was getting into reading tarot full time. I guess I didn't tell you that whole story, like because
Oh no, we'll back up then.
okay, during the COVID crisis, there was no place to play, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
well, as a musician, you gotta play. I don't understand how people can not. But anyway, that's the difference. But the farmers market here in my hometown allowed music to still go on, and that you had to be back from the crowd or whatever, but you could still go there and play. So I never busked before. I never tried that. I knew what it was, but I just went there, and they allowed you to play for 2 hours because there's a lot of us who wanted to chance to play for the people walking by.
Mhm.
And after my 2 hours, I was at the market. I thought, you know, maybe I can make a few bucks by reading some cards here. And it was just like a thought that occurred to me. And that thought wouldn't let me go until I saw it to fruition. And I first went to the organizer. They said, "Oh yeah, we'd love to have a card reader here, but you have to get a tent and all the regalia and all that." So I just let it slide, and I started thinking about the tarot again. And I thought I just walked into a Kohl's bookstore and picked up a deck that I was just drawn to. Came home and started looking at this deck and researching it and doing a lot of research on the tarot and going into the books. And then I saw that a lot of books on the tarot are really simple or they're really complex. And I
Mhm.
thought, and it's just sort of an organic thing. I thought, I want to write one. I want to write a book about the tarot too. It'll help me research it. It'll help me become a better reader too. But I think I'm going to make it long enough, interesting to be worth it, but short enough and concise enough to be um, not confusing,
Yeah.
which is really hard to do with the tarot. Once it's a rabbit hole that goes so deep, and I
Very
get
true.
that. So then I just started on this book, and again, it was a long, arduous process of editing down from 5,000 words to 500 word kind of pieces. Once I envisioned the book, what I want it to be, that simple, straightforward book that is very helpful. It was so many revisions. I just can't tell you. And but I'm very proud of it. I have two daughters, and they're both excellent writers, and they both helped me with.
Oh, that's wonderful.
One especially, that's what she does. She's an editor, and it was her first book that she got her name as an editor on it.
Cool.
It was great. And my wife too, she read it. I had it. She gave me so much good advice on it. How, I just say, tell me any passage that sounds stupid that you can't understand. She did, of course, and then I just kept working at it. And so I'm very proud of that book, of course, and I think it can help people forward with their journey, because it's really, I think, helpful advice. And like I say in the introduction, I hope that the book can help people become closer to the universe, or closer to God, feel that they're not walking alone on this earth. They're connected to something bigger than themselves. Their life has purpose and direction, and there's a reason for everything to happen.
That's beautiful. So it goes through a specific layout. Is that right?
Yeah, that was another thing that I had to do, because like if you start talking about every layout, and then you talk about, so I had to just work with one layout, and the 5-card pentagram layout is a layout which uses one card from each part of the deck. So you don't just mix up the whole deck. You have to separate the deck, and then you set it up into the shape of humankind, the pentagram, the head, the arms, and so you get a card for your spirit, a card for your health, a card for your emotions, your mind, and your money. And they're all connected, and you can then read what the cards say in my book, what it means for your life. And it's not for the 10 years from now. This reading is for the near future. It finds you and helps you through a thing that where you're headed in the next little while. When I do a reading like with people, I say this is when you leave the reading. This is what the cards are telling you to do. And so that was the focus. I didn't do any reversal cards. Again, that I had to just simplify things.
It's a lot more stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, that's right. I mean, I'm working on another book right now with the same deck, and it's going to be thick because I do a deep dive into every one of the cards. And like, again, it's not 500 word essays or 700, whatever it turned out to be. That each one was sort of similar. It's going to be. It's more like 4,500 to 6,500 words per card.
Wow.
And then that's just scratching the surface too. That goes down. So.
Yeah, because not only do you have not only do you have the metaphysical reasoning behind all of that, and the metaphysical purpose, but then you have like the whole history part of it too. That has to kind of be talked about as well.
That's why I say the cards are a book. Like they're I don't know where they came from. People argue about it, but I think they go even before the Egyptians. It's the book burners. They would have burned it, the power book, but it was hidden in plain sight and passed through the gypsies and through different cultures, and it somehow survived. And it's very adaptable. It's changed with cultures, so it changed with our time, but it's still there. Numerically and astrologically. Physically and archetypically, what it means to be human, and then the relationship of the humanity to the universe. This particular deck it's a Millennium Thoth deck, so it's based on Crowley and Harris's deck for the new millennium. But I think the artist Renault Lechner just put, for lack of a better word, witchcraft into going one step beyond Crowley. And my book, I've got a license to sell her deck now, and I recommend anybody to get this deck, because if it's even 1/100th as magical for you as it is for me, it would be amazing for you to get this particular deck. And there's changes, it's not the Rider-Waite deck that has the king. There's a few changes, but like I think the biggest one, there's no king. It goes to knight. Which is Crowley's thing, that in the new age, humankind would be less ruled by kings and more ruled by themselves. You know, there's a few other too, but the book can be used with the Rider-Waite deck. There's a conversion, just use the numbers and that they are.
What was the name of the deck again?
It's the Millennium Toth Tarot.
Okay.
Millennium Toth Tarot by Renaldo Lechner. Yeah, it's a very modern deck. It was released in 2017. And again, I don't know why I was drawn to that, but I can tell you point blank, I would have never written this book without that deck.
That's interesting.
And I wouldn't. And I don't know if I'd be reading cards today too if it wasn't, because I'm very tied to that deck. It really speaks to me.
Well, I can tell you right off the bat, we have quite a few people that could or could not be hanging out with us tonight that have a little bit of a problem when it comes to buying tarot decks. So I'm sure some ears perked up. I'm sure there's some web pages opening right now. So yeah, go take a peek.
There's so many decks, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like this deck, well, for me anyway, like I say, it's and the artist's knowledge of esoteric, mystic symbolism is phenomenal.
Everyone's yelling at me already, Marv. They're saying they don't have a problem. They're okay.
It's not a problem. It's artwork. No idea what you're talking about. Should we be offended?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
So yeah, we'll check that out. That's interesting because I don't know if I've heard of that one. So we will go check it out. So I have a question for you.
Like I said, it's a newer deck. I really believe it's going to be enduring. It's going to be one of the enduring decks.
Excellent.
It looks beautiful. I was looking at it.
Yeah, we'll have to take a look at it and talk about it. If someone picks it up, we'll have to take a gander at it.
It has some Hebrew letters. It's got the astrology in there. It's got the numerology.
Who's going to unbox it first? It's going to be a race.
So I was curious because I know we have your webpage, which we have linked it up there too, where you can get tarot readings. Do you? So obviously, do you do those online? Is that how do you do them through like video or like meetings, or how do you do your online readings?
Well, it can be they can be anywhere, like texting, phone, or video. Yeah, okay. There's you see, space is a little different in the metaphysical world. It doesn't really matter. It's not as like so you don't. It's not be face to face, but so whatever the person is comfortable with, I can do. I want to put a scheduling link on my website because people are reluctant to like contact me directly to schedule unless they know me, like I've done a reading to them before. Yeah. So I'm going to get that up probably tomorrow, I hope.
Cool.
And I'm working with one online company, but again, they don't. I can't like. People call me or they through them and they take their cut and then I do that. So I started doing that with it's called Spiritual Blossom. I guess I can say that. It's not a problem there.
No, that's fine.
And I found some of these online reading companies, unfortunately, they're not very, I don't like their business models, put it that way. I've had a few that I've had to quit because they seem to be more focused on keeping people talking and running up the clock and the bonus money. That's not what I do. I find it really hard to put a time limit on a tarot reading. Some of them are quicker, some of them are longer, but I want to give something to the querent that they're looking for and have that magical moment. Well, sometimes it takes 20 minutes, sometimes it takes an hour.
Yeah. So, I don't see a problem with necessarily putting a time limit on the reading, but to intentionally try to. Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like
they listen to your reading as you're giving somebody, and then they get a phone call from the manager saying, "You could have kept them online, like you would have done this. Maybe giving you advice." And I go, you know what?
Nope.
Thanks. No thanks.
Yeah.
I'm not. I've never been motivated by money, so like again
No.
So
that's ridiculous.
We talked about the online. Are there places that you go to or special events that you've been to where you do live readings? in person?
Yeah. There's a huge company in Canada called Galaxy Fairs. They go right across Canada. I started working with them last year in my Kelowna here in the Okanagan. I went to Vancouver, and I'm doing the shows in Alberta next year, or this coming spring in Alberta, Calgary and Edmonton, Grand Prairie. And here in the Valley, there's I work with a collective. We have every month a psychic fair that this wonderful psychic puts on, and it's called Mystica Fair. So, and I found that really good because when I started doing this, I find that it's kind of a lonely profession. I didn't really have any friends there. I didn't have a mentor who started with me. That was not the way I did it. I got into it, just jumped into it at a farmer's market with a tent and a deck of cards, and
Yeah.
and just started doing it. And but it's really nice to meet similar people who are also doing it. And I feel very fortunate to be part of these groups. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely good to have the community of people for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was just talking about this yesterday with somebody that I love hearing everybody's 2020 stories because it always leads to, and that's when I decided.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that same thing happened for you. It's like 2020 happened, everything's up in the air, and then
It was, yeah.
and then all of a sudden, it puts you on a path where now you're doing.
If you would have told me in 2019 that this is what I'd be doing now, I would never have believed you.
Yeah, and that same thing for me. Like I started doing mediumship professionally, and like just a couple of years before that, that was not even an option. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, pandemic had some good things that came out of it too.
We live in a very interesting time. We do. It's a good time to be alive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it changed things for a lot of people, I think, and in a lot of ways. Obviously, there's always the other side to it, but I think for a lot of people, there was some positive changes. Chasing what they actually wanted to do and what brought them happiness instead of just chasing whatever it was they were before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a reawakening of, anytime when you face your mortality, that's like when you get the death card. It's a good thing. It shakes you up, and then it's not meaning you're going to die, but we are all going to die, and the sooner you're at peace with that, and we can say like, if I died tomorrow, I'm okay. I gave my life, I put my life the best shot. I gave it what I. I think Mark Twain said it best when he said the fear of death stems from a fear of life. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And we're all can't be afraid of life. That's not a way to be. You got to get out there and do things.
Very true.
Well, so if you're listening to, I just wanted to say, so all you people, all our friends up to the north, keep an eye out for those events. And if you are in the region, go check it out. Get a live reading if you're listening to us later.
We do have some Canadian friends.
We do have some Canadian friends.
In fact, next Saturday in my hometown of Vernon, we're having an event.
That sounds fun.
Mm-hmm.
I need a psychic fair monthly. That sounds great.
Yeah,
it is.
If they, why don't we have teleportation yet? I ask this question on a regular basis. Why?
I know. Yeah.
I just pop in the teleporter and I'll be there, Marv.
It's because
that'd be great.
It's because your frontal lobes are too well formed.
Yeah, I know that's right.
To astral travel there.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 more questions. First, I want to go back to the beginning and ask, do you still do any astral traveling?
Yes.
Cool. And then the second question was, back to the end of the conversation here, the tarot stuff.
I don't do it regularly, though. I do. It's not too often.
Okay. Kind of sporadic. The other thing I wanted to ask was, what is your favorite thing about reading tarot for other people?
it's the connection with the person. It's the helping them forward. It's those moments of wonder and joy that occur when you connect with them, and typically if you're depending on the situation, they're really happy or they're really sad, and the tears are. I always have to have a box of Kleenex nearby because and again, when I feel that channeling of like egoless and they're hearing what they need to hear, even if it makes them cry. Especially when it makes them cry, that's my happiest moments.
Yeah. Helping others.
Helping
Yes.
others.
Which also goes back to the beginning of the conversation when it went a little off into the weeds.
Mhm.
Yeah, especially ones that come to you for when people seek a tarot reading, some of them are just curious.
Yeah.
But I'd say probably 60 to 70% of them have an issue that they either know in their heart but they're not addressing, or they actually address it directly to you. Yeah. Some people just feel it. They just know that I need to engage with this, and and they like, is there a reason for everything? And when that happens, it's magic. It is truly magic. Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Like I say, like when my Gita could find water underground, that's magic. That's when you can, look into the metaphysical and tell that person what they need to hear at that time. It is magic, totally.
Absolutely.
And it's not coming through me. I guess it's coming through me, but it's like, again, the less ego I have in it, the better.
Yes. We're just, if you think of us as we are also just the tools of which the information comes through, just like the cards and the Ouija board or whatever, or the willow branch. It's all coming from somewhere. It's just, we're also the tools.
Yeah, it's just, and life is short, it's just those moments have to be collected. Those moments of wonder, those moments where things make sense. They're precious. Yeah.
Absolutely. CMC Airboss just bought your book on Amazon.
And I wanted to remind real quick, we are coming up on the 10 o'clock hour here on the East Coast of the US of A. So if you have a question, please put it in chat. You can put it in there. If you can use channel points to highlight it so we don't miss it, just in case. But if you have a question for Marv, make sure you put it in chat and we will get to them as we start to get to the end of the show here. We have another one from Muso Patty Savage Tarot. He says, how do you respond to quants who say, I just want to hear positive things? They don't get that it doesn't work that way. I don't know if that was a question or if you were just responding there. But do you run into that problem, Marv?
Yeah, occasionally, yeah. It's you have to realize that I always say I have to tell the truth. I cannot betray anything here. Lying would be a betrayal of the tarot God of the universe. It would just sometimes you have to be careful because like the universe doesn't, when things they don't really need to hear sometimes, and you can't say it. But it's overall you have to say the truth is what you have to be truthful. Have to be.
Yeah, and then you can
it's part say of the code.
You can say what's coming through, but sometimes we have to figure out the best way to word things as well.
Yeah.
Because
if they only want to hear good things, don't even sit down with me. Don't. Because I wish, I hope. I'd love to tell you all that this is great, and I love those kind of readings too that are so positive, and they get the confirmation that they need that the new career is going to work out, and I see it. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's like, no, this is no good. You shouldn't go to California right now. But I bought the tickets. Well, I'm sorry. That's happened,
I always feel like whenever I read tarot that there's always at least one, if not more than one, like what I like to call kick in the pants card.
Yeah.
Like, this is what you're supposed to be changing kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a couple questions for you. CMC wants to know if your 5-card pentagram method works with all tarot decks.
Yeah. It'll work with all tarot decks.
Yep.
You just, again, the book explains how to use that. You can use any tarot deck with it.
Cool.
Excellent. And he's already bought the book, so he'll be ready to try it out.
Do you want to read the next question?
Yeah. The book explains how to make the there's a couple of changes you have to like because they're different. But the numbers are always the same. So if you use the numbers, it's the same. Yeah.
Cool.
Excellent. And Thyratero asked, Marv, you split the decks. Do you feel that improves the accuracy?
For the 5-card reading, it does. Yeah, but that's the only reading that I do with the split up deck or the separated deck. Other readings I do, I mix the full 78 cards, especially like past lives or individual questions that they have.
Yeah, because it's just for that specific layout, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then sometimes like I lay out those 5 cards from the split up deck, and if questions come up about a certain card that I can't read, I'll take a fresh deck of 78 cards and place a couple cards around the, like let's say they draw the Fool card, and I'm not really reading. I'm not seeing why they draw the Fool card. A couple other cards will tell me why the Fool appeared there.
Yeah, like a clarification kind of thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which that kind of gets into, I guess, a question that I have to a certain extent, because I read tarot. I wouldn't say that I'm an expert in any means on tarot. I know some people who know a whole lot more about tarot than I do, but the way I've kind of viewed tarot is there almost is no wrong way to get your cards. Like what is supposed to come out is going to come out. So I would imagine if you split the deck, it's the same thing is happening. The cards that weren't supposed to come out aren't going to be in the part that you split.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the odd time, like a card sneaks in there, and that's always important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I always love watching everybody, the different tarot readers, and how they, how they shuffle or how they choose, or everybody does it different.
Everyone's different.
It all works.
Yeah.
And that's great. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have quite a community here on Twitch where we're streaming tonight in the tarot channel. There's people reading tarot all the time, like just over in these chat rooms with video and everything. And so we get to see lots just sitting in our home. We get to see lots of different tarot readers, and they do. Everyone does it very differently.
Mm-hmm.
With
for sure. I mean, there's some
results.
Yeah.
I didn't invent the 5-card reading. I mean, I found that somewhere along the way, but I wish I would have, but I don't know. But that's okay.
All right.
Awesome.
All right. Well, how about we go ahead and get the, we're going to play Woods of the Cree one more time as we head out tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and play that, and we can all hang out and do a little dance and chat. So let's see what we got here.
And thanks, Marv, for coming on. This was fabulous.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Even if the conversation went in a weird direction, it was a great conversation.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I agree. Very good.
Got everybody thinking.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Once again, everyone, this is Woods of the Cree by Marv Machura. There we go.
Northern lights are an awesome sight, dancing in the snow and moonlight. The wind is still, I can hear for miles. Spirits of the north keep on crying. Ride with the wind, move with the moon. Great bear above, coyote and wolf. Hey, can you hear my voice deep in the woods of the Cree? Hey, can you take me away from a heart so strong and free? snowy owl, raven and muskrat lying low. My footsteps aren't the only sound. Spirits of the north are all around. Ride with the wind, move with the moon. Great bear above, coyote and wolf. Hey, can you hear my voice deep in the woods of the creek? Hey, can you take me away from a heart so strong and free? Tracks across the snowy field. I can almost touch the stars tonight, and I feel the spirits around me dancing in the light. Hey, can you hear my voice deep in the woods of the creek? Hey, can you take me away from a heart so strong and free? Hey, can you hear my voice deep in the woods of the creek? Hey, can you take me away from a heart so strong and free?
All right, and there we go. Woods of the Cree. We appreciate you coming on the show so much tonight, Marv. Thank you for coming on and talking with us. Not sure what's happening, but we were at the end of the show anyhow. So what we're going to do is we're going to say good night. Thanks everyone for coming in, hanging out with us as always. We appreciate you. Thank you again, Marv, for coming on. Thank you, me and Julie, for being on the show until the audio cut out right at the end. We will catch you all next time. We will be back next week. We will be back with guest Kim Sage, Ron Moorhead the week after that on the 29th, Sarah Bressman Cosme, and we will talk to you all. Until then, we will see you all next time. Have a good evening, everybody.